Yes, we are reading about layoffs happening, but what's really interesting is that the very same companies that are laying off people, there are thousands of jobs that are lying vacant at those companies, and they're struggling to hire. Right. So that really shows us the extent of the supply-demand gap that exists in the talent market, and it's really a question of, as a professional today, it's really a question of what kind of skills do you possess and are they relevant in today's time and the times to come. Right. And when we talk of these skills, I think there are some very clear signals in terms of what are the areas that companies are looking for, what are the areas where businesses are moving, and these broad areas, if I were to talk, would be areas such as data science, machine learning, AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity. Internet of Things is it's still nascent, but it's likely to grow. Same goes for blockchain, right? But what we should understand is that these are all broad areas, right? Within those are multiple roles, right? So, for example, if I talk of data science, right, roles begin right from data analyst to data engineer to data architects and big data engineer, machine learning engineer, all the way up to data scientists and even head of data science.
Got it. But Hari, tell me, for a person really watching this or me, how do you really decide which course is really up for me? It has to also sort of weave into my existing work, opportunities that are out there. Just because data scientists are in demand, a journalist like me will not really go up and pick up. So how do you really land on the perfect course? What would you really advise?
Sure. So I think let's understand this a little better, right? So it first starts off with what kind and what amount of experience do you have, right? So let's say if you, what we call as an early career professional, 0 to let's say 5 years of experience. If you're an early career professional, what you need to know in data science, in an area like data science and or machine learning, and the roles that you can aspire for will be very different from when you have 10 years of experience in the industry to when you have 20 years of experience, right? I think the first realization that a professional needs to have is to basically understand, okay, what is my experience? What have I been doing? What kind of domain exposure do I have? What kind of skills do I have currently? Right? And by learning data science, how am I augmenting it, right? As your experience grows, right? Let's say if you're talking of professionals like 10 years and so on, right? It is unrealistic to expect that, okay, what I have been doing in the last 10 years, none of that is now relevant, or, that I'm going to make a complete switch, right? It doesn't happen like that. Usually you augment your skills and you become more relevant. Right, but if you're a fresher, right, the entire opportunity is
the opportunities out there if you're willing to really learn and move forward.
Yeah.
But any specific jobs out there? You spoke about a lot of skill sets that are in demand, but jobs out there that really pay really well as well. There's a severe dearth as far as demand supply is concerned, and for the ones out there who really not sure can really, and end of the day does come out to how much you really take back home, right?
Yes, absolutely. See, I think what you get paid is really a function of what is the acute shortage of that skill set in the market.
Perfect.
Right? The more the shortage, the more you get paid, right? As long as you are a relevant candidate, right, you have the right demonstrable skills, then you will get paid, right? And I think that is where, skills or roles in data science and roles in machine learning and roles in AI are amongst the highest paying, right, in the industry right now, because the kind of shortage of talent that exists is just that much more acute in those spaces, right? So, for example, McKinsey kind of reported that I think by 2020, 2021, India is likely to become the second largest market when it comes to machine learning and AI, right, after China, right? So that's the kind of work, that's the kind of demand that exists, right? But where are the professionals? And if there are professionals with the right skill set, they will get paid a lot. And we are seeing that with our own alumni also, right? So on average, when we look at, see, about close to 2/3 of our alumni actually achieve career transitions within 6 to 12 months of program completion. And what I mean by transition is that they learn something and then they either transition into a role or into an organization that uses this new skill set that they've learned, right? And the average hike that we see is about close to 45 to 50%.
Oh, that's like a massive hike. Which sort of brings me to the next question. You touched upon it. Everyone talks about how upskilling, even if reskilling is not the word, is really important. But do they really, apart from job switches, ensure promotions? Do you have data to really back it? Because yes, it's good to reskill, it's good to upskill, but are you really adding value for the long haul for the company as well?
Yes. So in fact, because we cater largely to working professionals, that's where close to I would say if I remove that early career segment, which is the 0 to 5 away, then our student base the other 75% would be from, professionals between 5 to 20 years of experience, right?
And they are the ones who are worried also.
Exactly. They're the ones who are most worried, right? Everybody is worried, but they're the ones who are most worried, right? So they're coming in and they're learning this, and when they're learning, most of the times they've already spoken about it in their organization to their managers that, listen, I'm going to acquire the skill set, and what does that really mean for me, right? And that's what we see. So many of the times what happens is, even while they're in the program, they get some kind of a promotion, right? Because they're able to demonstrate that what is it that they've learned. Because those positions and those openings are there, right? The challenge is that the right people are not there, right?
Got it.
So if you've been working in an organization, and let's take the example of a typical IT services company, right? You've been working in an IT services or IT consulting organization for the last, let's say, 5 years. And let's say if there are projects that are happening in data science or machine learning where and let me take a role also, where they need a project manager, right, or an architect, right? Now they would be most comfortable in seeing if there is any internal redeployment of talent that can happen, because you're already familiar with the organization rather than going out and hiring, right? So if you can present yourself as a suitable candidate for that role, that job more often than not is yours.
Got it. How do you really address the trust issue? Yes, people are on great learning. You have a certified course, but also the fact that it's adding value in the long haul. You spoke about partnership that you're really striking with universities, because to convince an Indian consumer to go out there and spend so much of money, and I'll come to the price points in a while, is to also ensure that you address the trust factor, which really is the biggest hurdle, right?
So I think there are three aspects that work when it comes to, or work for great learning when it comes to ensuring the trust and the credibility that participants put in us. The first and foremost are the academic institutions that we partnered with, right? They're amongst the best in the world. So there's a Stanford on one side, there's a Purdue, there's a UT Austin, there's Great Lakes from India. So these are the best of institutions, and obviously the best of institutions will always partner with the best of companies, right? So there's a trust that gets built there. Plus every program that they learn, ultimately they're getting a certificate from a very renowned educational institution that gives credibility, right? The second aspect is now, because we are one of the largest in this space when it comes to professional learning, there are just so many of our alumni who've gone back into the industry and have contributed very well, right? So this word of mouth and this referral is a massive source of credibility for us, right? Today, we can connect any prospective learner to people like them with similar profiles, with some similar industries who've learned from us and who've had a fantastic career, right? So that gives people more confidence, right? And the third aspect, which is also equally important, is that we work very actively with more than 350 companies, right?
Yeah, so you're talking about how you're sort of focusing a lot more on the B2B side of the business, and that's an interesting space to solve for, even as corporates invest heavily in training their employees. You're sort of bridging the gap that exists.
Yeah, so with corporates there are two kinds of work that we do. One is training, right? And the other is helping them hire talent, right? So these 350 plus corporate partners that we work with, we are very actively engaged with them to help them source talent through great learning, because we just have so many people learning with us, right? And that builds credibility, right? So I think these three aspects go hand in hand, and I think that is what ensures, because in education, especially in the space that we operate in, I think trust and credibility matters the most.
Yeah, true. In terms of price points, I know it's difficult, you have several of these courses out there. How much does a course from a price point of view really start from and go up to? Give us an idea on that.
Sure. See, one of the, when we design any course or any program, one of our starting design principles is that we will not do anything that is superficial or superfluous, right? We want to provide meaningful learning outcomes, and if that has to be the case, if the learning has to be meaningful, it has to be rigorous and it has to be intensive. So what I'm trying to say is that we will never tell a participant that you can become a data scientist in 20 hours. It's not possible, right? We won't say that you can learn.
These are long haul 6 months,
6 months to 12 months courses, because that is the amount of time you need to invest. You are picking up a new skill, right? And obviously we go after a segment of the audience that is really serious about their careers, and they understand that learning helps them get a better career, right? And that's why we operate at certain price points. So our courses vary in terms of price. For Indian customers, they vary from 1.5 lakhs to all the way up to 5 lakhs. Yeah,
depending on, of course, what course.
Depending upon the duration of the program, the format, whether you're coming into a physical classroom and learning or whether you're learning online, the intensity, right, the number of learning hours, all of that.
Works. But last couple of questions before I let you go. The competition also in the space is really heating up. We're seeing a lot of players either space. What are you really doing to ensure that you're ahead of the curve, even as the competition really heats up? Upgrad, so many more players that I wouldn't want to name. But what is Great Learning really doing to stay ahead?
Yeah. So I think it's basically going back to first principles, and the first principle here is that we are in the business of helping people learn. Right? We may not be the most savvy when it comes to marketing or branding or so on, but we are the best when it comes to helping people learn and helping them achieve their career outcomes, and that's our focus, right? So as long as we keep doing that one basic thing right, what happens is that it creates a kind of a cascading effect, because there are more and more people who go out and speak about great learning, our own learners, our own alumni. And today that is one of our biggest strengths, because we have the largest base in the space of learners and alumni, right? That nobody comes anywhere close to, right? And they are spreading the good word that helps us do more.